Good day everyone. So for today's session, we will be discussing about the remedial instruction in writing. So first, let us define what is writing. Writing is a communicative skills that allows us to express our thoughts, feelings, and opinion. It is one of the essential things to understand the basic system of a language where students should have proper knowledge of grammar, punctuation, vocabulary, and sentence structure. So let's go now to the areas of difficulty identified by Troya and Graham 2002 and 2003, where at first they labeled the knowledge difficulties. So the first one is the less awareness of what constitutes a good writing and how to produce it. Students with this difficulty don't know how to use the right words and to say the right things. Second one is restricted knowledge about genre-specific text structure. The third one is the poor declarative, procedural, and conditional strategy. The fourth one is the limited vocabulary, where a child cannot articulate their feelings and show it behaviorally. The fourth one is the underdeveloped knowledge of word sentence structure. The fifth one is poorly organized topic knowledge, difficulty assessing existing knowledge. And the last one, the intensity to audience needs and perspective and to the function and writing is intended to secure. From the knowledge difficulties, let's go now to the skills difficulties of students. Letter A is often do not plan before or during writing. So students do not take any steps, so that's why they can't organize their thoughts properly. Letter B exhibit poor text transcription, example through their spelling, owned writing, and the correct usage of punctuation. Letter C is they are more focusing on revision efforts and on the superficial aspects of writing. Letter D is they do not reflect or analyze on writing. Students don't have any skills to examine text or even understand it better. Letter E is they have the limited ability to self-regulate thought, feeling, and action throughout the writing process. Learners cannot be at ease in the sense of controlling their own behavior and emotions. Letter F is show poor attention and concentration and have a visual motor integration weakness and fine motor difficulties. So this means that a child may sometimes lack of interest in his or her doings or sometimes may be having an ability to interpret visual information and respond with a motor action. So let's move on now to the last part, which is the motivation difficulties of students with writing problems. So letter A, they often do not develop writing goals and sub-goals or flexibly alter them to meet their audience. Letter B is they fail to balance performance and achieving success, mastery goals which relate to acquiring their own competence. Letter C is exhibit maladaptive attributes by attributing academic success to external and uncontrollable factors such as task ease or teacher assistance, but academic failure to internal yet uncontrollable factors such as limited aptitude. Letter D is having negative self-efficacy or competency belief. In this area, a child sometimes tends to see writing as a difficult task and consider it as a threat. That's why they tend to avoid it. Letter E, lack of persistence, and F, feel helpless, poorly motivated due to repeated failure. They are afraid of continuing to try that made them feel unfit and having a low support system and threatens their self-esteem.
So for the continuation of our report, I will be discussing about the qualities of strong writing instruction. In order for teachers to support all students' writing ability development, certain qualities of the writing classroom must be present. There are four core components of effective writing instruction constitute the foundation of any good writing program. First, we have meaningful writing experiences and assigned authentic writing tasks, wherein students can tap into the power of personal connection, immerse themselves in what they are thinking and writing, and they already had experienced what they are writing as applicable and relevant to the real world and imagine their future selves. Students should have these qualities that can promote their personal and collective expression, reflection, inquiry, discovery, and social change. For the second quality of a strong writing instruction, we have to become comfortable with the writing process. This quality of writing is a routine that permits students to move through the process over a sustained period of time at their own rate. Also, this quality of writing instruction can also be a step by step approach to build confidence of students in their own writing ability. The third quality of strong writing instruction is lessons should be designed to help students. First is to master craft elements, wherein students should master the elements of writing, such as the text structure and character development. After mastering the craft elements, we have writing skills, wherein students develop their skills in writing, specifically in using the correct spelling of words and using the correct punctuation. Lastly, we have the process strategies, wherein students have the abilities, especially in planning and revising tactics in their writing. For the last and final quality of strong writing instructions, is we have a common language for shared expectations, which has feedback regarding the writing quality that might also include the use of traits. And some examples are the organization, ideas, sentence fluency, word choice, voice, and convention.
In a classroom setup, and even in real life situation, in your career, in your job, writing skills is important. And in school, it is inevitable that we still have students who are struggling with their writing skills. And in order for us to reinforce them, we have these adaptations for struggling writers. And with this, we have five. And for now, I am going to discuss the first three, and then the last two will be discussed by Miss Leabore. So the first one we have here is accommodation and the learning environment. We all know that environment plays an integral role in our individuality and our growth. And in order for us to reinforce our student with this with this accommodating learning environment, we have this five also. We should increase their instructional time for writing. Also provide quiet and comfortable spaces for students to work, and provide unimpeded access to writing tools. Also, let our students identify and select meaningful reinforcement for achieving writing goals. And lastly, we have to consult with an occupational therapist to identify specialized adaptation. Example, the height of the chair, the height of the table. So in accommodating our learning environment, we should always see to it that we are giving them space that could they really operate well, that they could really think well of the possible organization of thoughts, organization of their writings, of the content, in order for them to really concentrate with that. We need to give them the comfortable space for them to write, also instructional time for their writing, that we need to somehow reiterate further how to write, how we should deal with those punctuations, how we should cope with the structure of the sentence and of the content and of the organization of the totality of the writing of the piece that they are writing. The second one, we have this accommodation of instructional materials. We need to simplify language of writing prompts. Also highlight keywords and phrases. Also transition simple to more elaborate graphic organizers and procedural checklists, and post strategies, graphic organizers, and checklists in the classroom, and give students personal copies. Also, to develop individualized spelling lists, have students keep a personal dictionary of demon words and frequently used spelling vocabulary, provide paper positioning marks on student desk, provide pencil grips for students, also provide raised or colored lined paper, and also provide students with personal copies of alphabet strips. For some teachers, they do this with the remedial instructions. They give students those graphic organizers in order for that students to somehow learn step by step. The instructional materials is important, especially in teaching our students, because through those instructional materials they would be able to somehow see with the graphics, because not all students learn just by listening. Also, they need visual representation of those topics that we are discussing, or those stuffs that we are telling them. And we need to somehow highlight words or phrases, keywords or phrases that could somehow be notable and could be um unforgettable with them, in order for them to familiarize to memorize those techniques that we have. And also give them a list of vocabulary that is or some words that are not familiar with them. Also give them um individualized spelling list. And for the third one, we have accommodation and teaching strategies. We have here devote more instructional time to writing mechanics. Also provide physical assistance during handwriting practices. Reteach writing skills and strategies. Also expect and support mastery learning of skills and strategies. Also use cross-age peer tutors to reinforce skills and strategies. Assign homework of Assigned homework designed to reinforce writing instruction. Help students set specific and challenging yet attainable goals for writing process. And help students develop self-instructions and self-questions that focus on positive attributions for success and task progress. Also teach students to evaluate and adjust their writing behaviors and writing strategy used to improve their writing productivity and performance. Lastly, we should promote maintenance generalization of writing strategies by doing the following. First, modeling and discussing how strategies may be used in multiple contexts. Second, relating writing performance to strategy use. Third, we have having students teach others how to use strategies. Fourth, having students keep a strategy notebook which they can consult at any time. Fifth, ensuring all staff and caregivers are familiar with and prompt the use of the strategies. And the sixth and the last, we have the reviewing strategies often. We need to somehow strategize with our teaching style, because not all students are fast learners, and we need to deal with these students who have difficulties with their or struggling with their writing skills. So in order for them to cope, we need them to have a notebook, because first and foremost, a notebook, if they are jotting down notes, it is easy for them to just review their notes if unnecessary times, or sometimes we are not beside them, that we need to review, to rethink, or to um review the things that we have taught them. So it is important for them to have notebooks to take down notes, for them to also familiarize and to somehow review even if they're alone in their alone time. And also we need they need physical assistance during handwriting practices. They need someone to guide them, someone to correct their grammars, to correct the use of their punctuations, and also give them homeworks that could that they could practice in their homes. And also we need to see to it that if we give them homeworks, it is for the common understanding that even their yayas or their caregivers could understand. And also we need to adjust our students writing behaviors, because we have the students that is lazy with their writing skills, so that their writing skills didn't really harnessed. It's because of their laziness. So we need to make another technique in order for them to stay afloat, to not go beyond the limits, or somehow to help our students to have the self instructions and self questions, and that they would focus on how they would succeed on the task that we are giving them. And also, last, the writing mechanics, that devote more instructional writing mechanics for students, give them more techniques, instill them the knowledge that you have, or give strategize a technique that could somehow be more easy for them to initiate.
Number 4. Modification to task demands. Letter A. Increase amount of time allotted for completing written assignments. If the allotted time of the activity is 40 minutes, then a remedial teacher can extend it to 60 minutes or 1 hour. An ample amount of time to finish the written assignments should be given to students in order for them to finish their tasks. Okay, letter B. Decrease the length and or complexity of written assignments. Do not make assignments that are long and complex enough for the students, because what is important is that they understand what they are writing in their assignments. Letter C. Have students complete text frames. Example, partially finished text. If the students haven't done the assignment yet, the conclusion part of an essay, for example, let her finish it. Letter D. Reduce or eliminate copying demands. Example, teach students abbreviations for note-taking, supply worksheets with math problems from textbook. Letter E. Allow students to use temporary or invented spelling. So, if the student use studs, as in studs for students and sch for school, then be it. Let them use it. F. Pre-teach spelling vocabulary for assignments. So, in this one, a teacher needs to give the correct spelling as well as the meaning of the word before the student will encounter the word and its spelling. Letter G. Evaluate spelling using correct letter sequence. Example, Haping has 8 possible correct letter sequence, rather than number of words spelled correctly to measure and reward incremental progress attributed to the partial correct spelling. H. Permit students to dictate written work to a scribe. This can be used if the student has difficulty to write his or her response to an assignment, so a scribe can be used. Letter I. If students have adequately developed keyboarding skills, permit them to write papers with a word processor. So, allow students to submit a typewritten activity if they want to. Letter G. Permit students to use outlining and semantic mapping software to facilitate planning. In that way, students can develop the vocabulary strategy and remembering the points that they are about to write in their activity. Key. Permits students to use voice recognition technology to facilitate text transcription. Google, for example. Letter L. Permits students to use integrated spell checker and/or word production software to facilitate correct spelling. Letter M. Permits students to use speech synthesis technology to facilitate revising and editing. The speech synthesis technology is a machine in which it reads a word out loud that allows the students to hear what they've written so that they will be able to edit and revise those grammatical errors and typos on their activities. So, letter N. Selectively weight grading for content, organization, style, and conventions. Letter O. Grade assessments based on the amount of improvement rather than on the absolute performance. So, if the remedial student, for example, knows how to spell 2 to 3 letter words in the previous activity, then base his or her score on the second activity on the improvement of his performance. If he or she already knows how to spell 4 to 5 letter words, our remedial teacher must look on the improvement rather than on the actual basis of the spelling activity. Letter P. Assign letter grades for body of work collected over time. Example, portfolio assessment, rather than for each paper. In that way, the teacher can see if the student has developed over time or not. Letter Q. Provide feedback on content, organization, style, and conventions for some rather than all assessments, which may reduce students' anxiety about writing. Q. Provide feedback on content, organization, style, and convention for some rather than all assignments, which may reduce students' anxiety about writing. Letter R, the last but not the least, provide feedback and targeted aspects of writing rather than all aspects to avoid overwhelming students. Give feedback on the targeted aspect of writing. If the content is the target aspect, then give feedback to the content. If on style, then give feedback on the writing style. So let's move on to the number 5, modification to learning task. Letter A. Permit students to dramatize or orally present a written assignment, either in lieu of writing or in preparation for writing. Example, if you ask your students to write a speech with a minimum of 200 words, then a student would prefer to tell it, then let her do it. Let her tell her speech in front of you. Letter B. Assign students suitable rules. Example, brainstorm manager for the creation of a group-generated paper. To help students do their activity, remedial instruction teacher can assign someone who is suitable to manage or lead the group in a group-generated activities.
D. Teaching handwriting. The following are research-based suggestions for teaching handwriting. Number 1. Curriculum considerations. Let us start with A. The initial use of one type of script does not appear to affect handwriting performance. For example, manuscript versus cursive or different versions of manuscript. Letter B. Special emphasis is placed on difficult-to-form letters and those that are frequently reversed. And this is where dysgraphia enters the discussion. Dysgraphia is a learning disability characterized by problems with writing. It's a neurological disorder that can affect children or adults. In addition to writing words that are difficult to read, people with dysgraphia tend to use the wrong word for what they are trying to communicate. Letter C. Lowercase letters are introduced before uppercase letters, unless they are formed using similar strokes. For example, big letter A and small letter A. Letter D. Letters that share common strokes are grouped together. For example, the O, C, D, and A. Letter E. The introduction of easily confused letters is staggered. When we say staggered, it means alternating. For example, letter G, letter B, letter T, letter P, and letter Q. Letter F. The formation of individual upper and lowercase letters, and for cursive, difficult letter transitions are modeled. For example, the word Rome, ROA and M, G. Visual cues such as numbered dots and arrows and verbal descriptions are used to guide letter formation. Letter H. Activities to reinforce letter recognition and naming are combined with handwriting practice. Letter I. Students practice using a comfortable and efficient tripod pencil grasp. When we say tripod pencil grasp, it is when the thumb, index finger, and middle finger work together to hold a pencil or a ballpen to write properly. Letter J. Students are shown and expected to use appropriate posture and paper positioning for their handedness. Letter K. Handwriting fluency is developed through frequent writing and speed trials with an emphasis on maintaining legibility. Letter I. Opportunities are provided for distributed practice and judicious review of individual letters and letter sequences. Letter M. Students are permitted to develop their own handwriting style and to choose which script, be it a manuscript, cursive, or even a blend, that they prefer to use after mastering handwriting. Manuscript tends to be more legible than cursive and can be written just as quickly if given equal emphasis. The last one, letter N. Students are prompted to identify when a high degree of legibility is and is not necessary. Now we are done with number 1, which is curriculum considerations. Now we will start with number 2, which is weekly routines. Letter A. In the primary grades, 60 to 75 minutes per week is allocated for handwriting instruction. Letter B. Students are encouraged to compare letters to discover patterns and to highlight their similarities and differences. Letter C. Students are given opportunities to reinforce target letters by tracing them, be it a dashed or faded model, copying them and writing them from memory. Letter D. Students' handwriting is monitored and immediately reinforced for correct letter formation, spacing, alignment, size, slant, and the line equality. Letter E. Students are asked to self-evaluate their handwriting and to set goals for improving specific aspects of their handwriting each day. And lastly, letter F. Students are encouraged to correct poorly formed letters and to rewrite illegible work.
Letter E, teaching spelling. So first, um, curriculum consideration. Letter A, spelling vocabulary includes words drawn from children's reading materials, children's writing, self-selected words, high-frequency word list from grades 1 and 2, and pattern words. Letter B, students are typically taught phonemic awareness and phoneme grapheme associations, or reserving the least consistent mappings, such as consonants sounded k and z, and long vowels for last, in kindergarten and first grade. So phoneme and grapheme mapping is a research-based activity that helps readers build word recognition skills. Phonemes are the sounds we hear in words, while graphemes are the letters that represents the sound. With a little bit of practice, it will help the students build decoding skills that will increase fluency. Common spelling pa- Next is common spelling patterns. For example, phonograms or rhyme families are taught in the first and second grades. The onset is the initial phonological unit of any word. For example, in the word cat, um, it example C in the word cat, and the term rhyme refers to the string of letters that follow, usually a vowel and a final consonant. For example, AT in cat. This can help students decode new words when reading and spell words when writing. Morphological structures, for example, roots and affixes. An affix is a word that can be added to a root word or base word to add a new meaning. For example, in the word conforming, con is the prefix and ing is the suffix, while form is the root. And helpful spelling rules, for example, add es to make words ending in s, z, x, ch, or sh becomes plural. Are thought and this is taught in second grade and beyond. For example, brushes, foxes, glasses, and etc. So, letter C. Students are taught systematic and effective strategies for studying new spelling words. For example, mnemonic spelling links and multisensory strategies. So, a mnemonic is an instructional strategy designed to help students improve their memory of important information, particularly in spelling. For example, when you try to remember the spelling of arithmetic, you can just say, a rat in the house may eat the ice cream. So, using the first letter of each word in the sentence, you can spell easily the word arithmetic. On the other hand, multisensory teaching techniques stimulate the brain in a variety of ways so that each sensory systems becomes more developed and higher functioning. This improves um, essential functions of the brain such as listening skills, movement, vision, tactile recognition, and conceptualization. This includes tapping out the letters in the word, air writing, salt tray spelling, magnetic letters, and writing the word in a variety of ways, then use the word in a sentence to give it some context. So letter D, previously thought spelling words are periodically reviewed to promote retention. So through repetition, a skill in spelling words is practiced and rehearsed over time and gradually becomes easier. It can also promote mastery to skills and vocabulary in spelling. Letter E. Um, correct use of spelling vocabulary in students' written work is monitored and reinforced. Letter F. Students are taught and encouraged to use dictionaries, spell checkers, and other resources to determine the spelling of unknown words. Letter G. A spelling demons and other difficult words are posted on wall charts. So what do we mean when we say spelling demons? So a spelling demon is a tricky word to spell. Often words that usually misspelled. Um, there there are words there were the words that look wrong even when they were right, so you need to post it on wall charts to take note and increase the learner's vocabulary. So next, we will talk about the weekly routines that you need to do as um as we do remedial teaching in teaching spelling. So letter A, a minimum of 60 to 70 minutes per week is allocated for spelling instructions. Letter B, students take a Monday pre-test to determine which words they need to study during subsequent activities and to set spelling performance goals. Letter C, after studying new spelling words, students take a Friday post-test to determine which words were mastered. Letter D, immediately after taking a spelling test, students correct their misspellings. Letter E, the teacher conducts word sorts and guided spelling activities to explicitly teach spelling patterns and rules at the beginning of the week. Letter F, daily opportunities are provided for cumulative study and testing of new spelling words, for example, through computer-assisted instruction. Letter G, students work together each day to learn new spelling words. Letter H, the last, while studying, students monitor their on-task behavior or the number of times they correctly spell a target word to promote active learning. So overall, teaching spelling is just as important as it is used to be, perhaps even more so. So when students can both decode or read words and encode or spell words, they have a much better grasp of language overall. Simply put, learning to spell helps our students become better readers and better